Welcome to 5 Minutes of Momentum. These episodes are a short 5-minute burst of inspiration, motivation, and massive action. If you need that little kick up the butt to get things moving and to inspire you to take massive action, then every single Thursday I'll be sending you through a 5-minute episode to download, digest, and implement to finish your week off strong. Are you ready to get started? Let's go. Welcome back to 5 Minutes of Momentum. Today I want to talk to you about making it easier for your customers to buy from you. So this is something that comes up so many times within my programs when we start to actually look at the journey of when a lead is interested in working with you, and then how easily we make it for our customer to say yes, or to get confused, or to get to the point where they're like, I don't know what my next step is supposed to be. Like, how do I actually work with this person? So if you're making it too hard for your customers to buy from you, you could be losing so many sales. So I want to talk to you about a review that you can do within your business to ensure that it's easy for people to buy from you. The first things first would be your website. Start going to your website and just think about perceiving your website as a customer. So if I was to land on your website, is it easy enough for me to know what to do? And I want you to make it so simple. Like, one of the things that we need to make sure that we're communicating is what is the customer's next step. If you're not communicating the next step, you cannot expect them to know what to do next. Sometimes, especially if you're a business owner that actually works with consumers that aren't business owners, sometimes we can take for granted what we do know and how we know what the next step is supposed to be. But really what we need to do is actually make it so easy that we don't stop people from actually buying from us. So here's some of the things that you need to look at. So right from your website, you need to go from your homepage. Is it easy enough for people to find the next step? So what do you want them to actually do? And this is where people go wrong. They make it so confusing, or they make it so exclusive that it's so hard to find what the next step is, or we overwhelm them with too many options. So whenever you think about your website, you really want to think about each individual page having one purpose. One purpose. And this is where some people also get really confused with service pages, because they're like, oh, I'm just going to add all of my services. But I really want you to think about it from the customer's perspective. The person that's landing on that page, do they really need all that information? From your expert information, from your expert mind, when you think about how you serve your customers, what's the first initial step? So if there's too many options, people become confused and they don't buy. So we want to make sure that every single website page has one purpose. We're driving them to one action, so that way they know exactly what to do. Same thing with your social media. When you click on your links, is it easy for people to know what to do next? Are you making it easy for them to buy from you? Now, the next thing I want to talk about is then what actually happens when they first reach out. So when you're DMing people, if you're chatting with people in the DMs, are you making it hard for them to book a call with you? Are you making it hard for them to know what the next steps are? Are you confusing them? Are you overwhelming them? One of the things that I always love to do with my clients within Unstoppable Sales is to look at this and go, okay, firstly, if they're having a conversation with you, don't send a link. Don't send a link of like, here's my booking link, you can find a calendar, unless that they're overseas and then the time zone is really challenging. But usually what I usually like to do is just literally communicate the times that you have available the next day. So rather than overcomplicate it, you can simply just find out when they're available. You can simply just say, hey, I've got time tomorrow, this time and this time, which one would you prefer? And I then just take their name and email address and then send them a calendar request. So it's easier for them to, do you know what I mean? Like, you want to take out the hard work for them to book a call with you. If you're asking them to go through this link and then do this and then do this and then do this, it kind of like defeats the purpose, when really you just want to have a conversation with them. We also want to consider, like, with that discovery call process, like, do you have an application process? Do you have a discovery call? What are the steps? And are you making it too hard? Because if people are looking at your calendar link and they're finding a time, but then you're asking them 15 different questions, that could be super overwhelming and most people will click away. So you want to consider, what are the main things that I really need to know before getting on the call with them? And how can I simplify that? Because sometimes we need to be conscious of the fact that they may be booking calls with other people and you don't want to make it seem hard to work with you. You just want them to take the next step. So I want you to do like a little audit across every channel that you have that customers can find to work with you. So as your website, your social media platforms, make sure that it's super clear and easy. So this is also why I also have on my social media pages right on the feed, at the top of the feed, that are pinned posts that are literally like a story about me, how you can work with me, and client wins, because I want people to see the results that I achieve. So you want to think about your social media like a mini website. And so I want to make sure that that's communicated really clearly. And I'm about to actually update them for 2025. And we want to go, okay, so how can I make it easy for them for the next steps? So literally the other day I was looking for a specific service and I found someone that I was like, oh, this is cool. I think that this might be my person. And so then I went to her links and she must have been promoting a specific lead magnet at the time. And her links was just specifically direct to that lead magnet. But I didn't need that lead magnet. I actually wanted to have a conversation with her. I actually wanted to book her and find out her pricing. And so I had to then go try and Google her website to try and find that information, which is frustrating for a customer. So she may have actually lost a sale because she hasn't made it easy for me to find that information. And now I also have a completely different conversation when it comes to like presenting your prices online. That doesn't necessarily come into this. That's not what I mean. So I don't mean like necessarily have all the information readily available to people. You just want to think about what's the next best step that I want them to take and that will guide that next piece of the phase of the sales process. Because if you're making it too hard right from the get-go, you could be missing out on sales conversations that could lead to paying customers. So really make sure that you're communicating each step. Don't just necessarily just assume that people are going to know what they have to do. Make sure that you're communicating it really clearly from your social media pages right through to your website, right through to the next step with you to work with you. So if you're making it too hard, this is the first audit you need to do for 2025 to ensure that your customers know exactly what to do next and what the next best step is. So if you're like, oh, I normally do a discovery call no matter what, but I've put in an application process and I haven't really had anyone book calls for a long time, that could be a red flag. So you need to actually do an audit on yourself regularly. Within every 3 months, I would be like, what are the new processes I've put in place and have they worked? Have they resulted in the outcomes that I really had hoped for? And if you haven't, you need to change them. So this is something that I do within my Unstoppable Sales program because I want to make sure that we, again, making it so easy for people to know what the next step is without overwhelming them, without confusing them. Just think about what is the next best step for them. And sometimes it is literally to have a conversation with you because you are the expert and you know then what they may need. So you have to consider that your customer does not know what the next best step is. Depending on the type of service that you offer, they may not know. So having all of your services on your website could actually be very confusing. So you just want to think about, okay, what's the entry level? Like what's the entry level service that I have that is going to support a client to take that next step? And maybe you just promote those. Maybe you just have those on your website. And again, this is very general advice because it really depends on the type of business that you have. But just first and foremost, do an audit across your socials and across your website. Have I got one clear call to action on each web page? And do I have really clear instructions on what to do next and how a customer can actually work with me from my social media pages? If not, play with those first because it's a great first thing to start with within 2025.